With the NBA draft officially 1 week away, we're now entering into a period on this channel we will be referring to as Draft Week, where every day leading up to the big day, we'll be releasing nothing but NBA draft-related content. Plus, even more draft-related content will be released after the draft happens as well, because I'm sure there will be plenty of big moves to discuss that will be made. So in actuality, this is probably going to be closer to 2 weeks worth of draft-related content coming on the way. To start things off in today's video, we'll be discussing 4 of the top prospects in the class that are all projected to be picked in the lottery, but for me personally, I'm not completely sold on them being sure thing can't miss players like many other people see them as. This is not me predicting that they will prove to be busts throughout their careers, but I'm just not as high on them as the general public seems to be. Before we get started though, it turns out about 73% of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so please, if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, because not only does it help out a ton, but I would also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first player we'll be discussing is the prospect that, according to a large percentage of basketball fans, is the top prospect in the class, being Anthony Edwards from Georgia. Edwards could very well be the best scorer in the entire class. He has the perfect height, strength and frame, and physical attributes as well that teams look for from a wing player at the next level. And at Georgia, he took on a huge brunt of the scoring load and demonstrated his NBA-ready scoring ability. But while all of that may be true, there are still a few things about his game that make me nervous. For one, he definitely did demonstrate his ability to catch fire and absolutely take over a game at the level that you love to see from all of the best scorers in the game, but the issue was that he was way too inconsistent and sporadic with that level of play, and his overall production paints an entirely different picture. He only shot 40% from the field and 29% from 3 in his one college season, which are both very below average marks of efficiency. Plus, in his pro day workout that was televised on ESPN, he emphasized that he was working on improving his ability to shoot spot-up jumpers, which has definitely been a weakness of his, and yet throughout the workout, he was still very much inconsistent from that area, and a ton of reports came out following that event stating that the draft scouts were discouraged by his showing. The flashes of individual brilliance I can definitely admit were jaw-dropping, and I definitely do see why people are excited about his potential, but I would be worried about taking him number 1, especially when his biggest area of impact is supposed to be as a scorer, because the rest of his game is very unpolished at the moment. The next top prospect we'll be discussing that I'm not completely sold on right now is James Wiseman. Wiseman began the college season playing for Memphis, and through the first 3 games of the season, he was putting up some pretty huge numbers, as he averaged about 20 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 blocks per game over that span. But then he got caught up with the NCAA, and instead of accepting his suspension, he dropped out to focus on the draft. The last time we saw him play a basketball game was literally 1 year ago today, November 12th, 2019. So for a prospect supposed to be one of the best players in the draft, we have almost nothing to judge him off of outside of 3 college games, 2 of which were against mid-majors. He dominated those first 2 games against mid-majors, to be fair, but the 3rd game they played were against Oregon, which Memphis as a team lost, and it was also his worst game of the 3, where he only scored 14 points and registered 1 block after swatting 5 shots and 3 shots respectively in the first 2 games. He too has all of the physical tools teams love from big men today, as he stands at 7'1" with a massive wingspan and explosiveness around the rim, but we've seen countless examples of players that look the part but fail to actually put it all together, and right now, Wiseman is a complete mystery. Even back in high school on the EYBL circuit, which is a pretty competitive circuit for high school players, and it's also something that scouts have historically taken note of, Wiseman didn't really dominate much, only averaging 15 points and 7 rebounds per game in that league. His motor has been questioned at times, he doesn't have the track record of dominance that you would like from a mysterious prospect like this, and while I definitely see why teams and fans would be drawn into his potential, he strikes me as the furthest thing from a sure thing. The next top prospect that we'll be discussing is Deni Avdija from Israel. Avdija is the top international prospect in this year's draft, and he brings a level of balance with his production across the board, capable of impacting the game in a ton of different areas. He stands at 6'9", giving him very ideal height for a wing player, and he handles the ball and sees the floor like a guard, which should definitely create some matchup problems for opposing defenses. His best trait is his playmaking, as he projects to work best as a point forward type of player that can operate as a secondary ball handler, initiate the offense, and run the show alongside proper scoring guards. This is why he's projected to be taken in the top 5 of the draft, but again, he does have a few weaknesses that need to be addressed. First, despite his picture-perfect shooting form, his jumper is wildly inconsistent, as he only made 31% of his threes last season. He works best as a spot-up shooter off the ball with a quick release off the catch, but once you make him put the ball on the floor, he struggles mightily to create his own shot, as his shooting percentage on all shots off the dribble crumbles down to a worrisome 23%. He's also a poor free throw shooter, only making 59% of his shots from the line, and historically, free throw percentage has been used by scouts to help determine how good of a shooter a player can become down the line. For whoever takes him, he can definitely be a valuable part of any lineup because of his versatility, but I just don't see his ceiling being quite as high as it's made out to be. And finally, the last prospect we'll be discussing is Patrick Williams from Florida State. Williams is someone who has seemingly began to soar up draft boards everywhere, and over the last few weeks, I don't think anyone has received more positive momentum heading into the big day than him. When it comes to the NBA draft, if there's one thing that scouts in the modern day love, it's potential and youth, because the movement away from established college stars being drafted at the top to younger one-and-done prospects that could break out down the line makes that as clear as ever, and Williams is yet another example of this being the case. He's the youngest player in the entire draft, having just turned 19 years old in August, and right now he's nothing but raw potential and promising physical prowess. He's very much a project at this point in time, but he's an athletic freak and has an NBA-ready body at 6'8" and the physical tools that scouts love. However, while he has everything you could want from a project, you have to be real and acknowledge the downsides of the fact that he is, after all, a project, being that he's very far from being a complete player, and at the moment, he's not really great at any one part of the game, and there's obviously no promise that he ever will be. We've seen success stories with projects with guys like Giannis and Kawhi Leonard, but for every one of those, there's 100 or more that don't pan out. Williams is first-round talent for sure, but after originally being projected to be a mid-first round selection, he's shot up mock drafts into the top 10 for many, with rumors swirling that the Pistons at 7 might be interested, the Cavaliers at 5 might be interested, and even the Bulls at 4 are considering selecting him. The smartest route would be for a team later in the first round to take a chance on him, because selecting him that early on will put enormous pressure on him to perform now, which he just simply is not ready to do yet, and I see him becoming the ultimate boom or bust prospect in this year's draft. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about the players we discussed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.